It says we're streaming live now, so I'm gonna say welcome if anyone's watching.
Hi everyone. Let's see if I can find it here on my, boom, look at that. Let me turn the volume down.
Really? Oh, there.
Yeah, got it. There we are. Good morning, everyone. You made it to Friday.
Sam's couch.
This is a meditation on Fran's empty couch.
Yes. Oh, there she is. Hi, Tammy and Clark and Brandy. Yeah, who's on?
Good morning, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the concert by Calvin last night. It was good for my soul.
I was so emotional after that. I told Calvin it made me, it pressed on something that was reminding me of ways we're woven together that we're like missing out on right now in a lot of ways. And it was like some serious nostalgia came up. But we will do it again, and we'll do it for an hour, and we'll make sure the sound is a lot better next time. That was the first time, and we got a lot of discovered a lot of kinks in the plan.
Yeah, there are plenty of ways that we can mitigate some of that. It'll be pretty easy.
And I got some feedback yesterday that people also miss Fran's voice and would love it if she played a set of her favorite songs, unchurch related or church related. So just saying.
Happen.
Want to bless some people.
Do you know any Beatles, Fran? Do you have any Beatles in your repertoire?
I Hey Jude a lot.
Yeah, and actually you can go to her Instagram. Oh, Matt doesn't do Instagram. You can go to her Instagram. She did a Hey Jude recently, I feel like, during quarantine.
Oh, man.
Yeah. What's your favorite Beatles song? I want to know. Let's do a favorite Beatles song. Put your favorite Beatles song in the comments for an icebreaker.
Yeah, for me, it would be Let It Be.
Okay.
Which that speaks to my 9-ness, who's always like working on stuff in my mind and like just can't let things go and is trying to figure out the best way to navigate something and not ruffle feathers, but it's like, let it be. Just let it be.
It is a great 9 anthem.
The Let It Be is like the cookies and cream of the Beatles. Like, you have to love it. I love that so much.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Fran?
Oh, as I was saying, Let It Be is an anthem for 9s. Like it could be.
Oh, yeah.
9 song, Have you ever played that game with people? Like what's
No.
I love it because of the reference to Mother Mary, which isn't a real reference to the actual Mother Mary, but I pretend that it is.
Yeah.
I love it. I think my favorite, I grew up listening to a lot of Beatles with my parents, but I'll pick two. One of my favorites is that song, Something in the Way She Moves. Do y'all know that song? Attracts me like no other lover. Something.
Sorry.
You guys, that song called Something?
Clark, help us out here.
And then my other favorite Beatles song is, I have so many. Let me pick an album. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band is my favorite Beatles album, and it contains the songs Lovely Rita, Mita Maid. Is Rita watching? And When I'm 64. And when my dad turned 64, I got him like a pillow with that on it.
Nice.
Yeah. So anyway, okay. Fran?
Blackbird, and Blackbird is also one of my favorites.
Oh, I love that song.
Yeah, same.
I'm gonna listen to the Beatles after this.
To be honest, I feel the most nostalgia around country music, having grown up in Lampasas, Texas, where that's all we listen to, at least my little circle.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's like really bad 90s country. Like I was singing some lyrics from some song to Heather last night and laughing at how ridiculous it is.
That's like 90s country is kind of Jordan and my like cooking music. if we're like in the kitchen
Yeah.
cooking, drinking wine while cooking, we're probably playing 90s country.
My first favorite song I can remember ever being like, this is my favorite song, is Chattahoochee by
Oh
Alan
my
Jackson. And I just danced around the house anytime that song came on. I loved it so much. And the other one was Take It Like a Man by Michelle Wright. Does anyone remember that song?
No.
Look it up. Like, I love that song to this day.
You know, country had like a and now there's some great newer country art.
The song that Heather and I danced to after we got married was by Paul Brandt, and it was I Do. And how many people know Paul Brandt? Probably not a whole lot, but we did.
Well, I have to admit, like, country music has been triggering for me because it reminded me of bad memories in the town I grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
So having to like untangle myself from that and figure out, like, even Fran, like, you'll have to tell us what to listen to now, because I think for a long time I was like, I can't, go there.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think, Fran, you've talked about Casey Musgraves. Is that someone you?
Is also my favorite.
Who?
Wendy Carlisle.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. She has like a bluesy, or I don't know how to talk about music, but bluegrass. Yeah, I love that. Okay.
Can I just say this conversation's, garnering a lot of comments. It wasn't even planned. Before we move on,
it's about self-care.
I have to add in, so like, I don't know if it gets any better than Remember When by Alan Jackson, along with Drive by Alan Jackson, and then Some Beach by what's his name? I can see his face. Some Beach.
Someone needs to make a playlist out of all these songs we're mentioning and send it to us. Yeah. People are making some great comments. And then the other 90s was the Judds. The Judds.
Yeah. I mean,
what's that song?
David got my reference. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Did y'all? I saw yesterday the Dixie Chicks dropped Dixie from their name. Speaking of country music.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah, I saw that too. And then it was interesting because this was the first thought I had, and then I saw some comments on it, but I was just curious what y'all thought. Someone said that, well, they dropped the first half, but the second half is like patriarchal. It's like chick is like a name for that you call women. So anyway, I don't know. I mean, I guess if you're calling yourself that, I don't know.
It is interesting. I was reading on Twitter about that yesterday, and I thought it was interesting. And I wish that they would have totally rebranded.
Yeah, just like
I think they're badasses, and their new album is a badass album. I mean, I haven't
heard it,
but I've heard several songs off of it, and like the one that it's called Juliana, Calm Down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I told y'all about that song in a different live. It has an F-bomb in it, so if that offends you, you should avoid it. But
dang, I need a list of all these.
I know, someone compile a list, because that would be like a gift today to us. But the Dixie Chicks were, I loved them. Wide Open Spaces, that whole album. But they really got torn apart and their careers ruined over really being bold. And now we see, I'm so glad, like, that they have this rebirth because of that what kind of the kinds of things they were always trying to say are, I mean, it shows you a little bit of progression that you see these country artists, like, you should be able to just call out white supremacy and make actions, but just even 15 years ago, you would ruin your career if you did that. And now, someone said Lady A, they changed their name. And I see newer artists like Casey Musgraves really like starting out with the assumption that those things are wrong, and like, they're able to navigate that world differently. I wish progress was quicker than it is, but
The window of acceptable topics. It's called the Overton window, not to mansplain, I'm sorry, but the Overton window is shifting to what's acceptable in society now, the narratives that are acceptable.
yeah.
And we see with Colin Kaepernick, right? Like from unacceptable to now the NFL going like, yeah, you should be able to protest.
Right.
So I'm grateful for that. That feels like progress.
Yes, but it's so frustrating when you've been, saying that all along. That's part of that's part of the exhaustion for Black people is, they live that life, and then to watch it become like a trend in a way is exhausting. But I mean, you want people to change and progress. Let me look at these comments real quick, because Tammy said Blackbird, Tori said Eleanor Rigby, and While My Guitar Gently Weeps. Clark said he sang Let It Be in a Service. Have y'all seen Yesterday, the movie? I haven't seen it. I need to watch
I need to.
Yeah. And then Across the Universe, yes. Yeah.
I haven't seen that, but I saw Tori recommend it, and then Jeff and Tammy.
Yes. Okay. 90s country and early 2000s. I don't think I was listening to country music very much then. Toby Keith. Tori said music is self-care, so we're on the right track. Actually have a conversation.
We were going to talk about self-care this morning.
Oh, we were going to talk about self-care.
Yeah. Our original plan was to talk about some of the stuff we're individually struggling with these days and what we're doing to practice some self-care through it. So, yeah, this feels like an abrupt shift, so I'm sorry. One of the things I'm struggling with is really not having any boundaries or structure around the several jobs I have. So I'm an Air Force Reserve chaplain, as you all know. My wing, and specifically my group, the medical group that I care for, we have several deployed members, several that deployed to New York for COVID and came back, and I was providing care to them at a distance the whole way through. Now we've deployed other members around the world just as part of our Air Force mission of providing medical care. And I'm caring for them at a distance, and there's no structure around that. Same thing with pastoring. There's no structure around really the work we're doing, no boundaries. Luckily, I'm also a hospital chaplain for Baylor Scott and White. Luckily, I just turn my pager off and I disappear from that system when I'm not on. I'm on for a week at a time, and then I'm off for a couple weeks. So that's the one where I feel like I can be like, you don't own me. I don't owe you anything right now, So I don't know if it's a 9 thing. Maybe y'all can speak to this, but it really helps me to have some external structure placed on me. Otherwise, it's hard for me to find that for myself. Maybe that's some growing up I still need to do. I can admit that. So that's a struggle I have. And then also parenting, right? So I've got my kids around all the time now. And they need me. They certainly deserve me. But how do I balance like all these different things and caring for them and practicing self-care? Kind of a struggle I have. I've been getting up early and jogging, which seems to be a good way to do that. This morning I took Ellis with me on my jog. She rode her bike while I jogged. I'll be quiet for a minute, but that's a glimpse into my life these days.
Yeah. Matt, Jana and I were on a class we were guest speakers in a social work online class for Baylor last night. And they're about to graduate, and they were all just really done with school, which I'm sure you could understand. Being at the beginning, it feels like you're never going to finish.
And you're down, 2 to go.
Yeah, it's a lot. And someone said, I'm just so ready to be able to just go to work and leave at 5 p.m. and come home and be done. Like I don't, not have homework, not have anything to think about, And I was like, oh God, that sounds, but Jana was over there nodding, you know. And the thing is that's not true, because Jana works with cancer patients, and those burdens come home with you. But like all the jobs you do pastoring, like I said to them, I was like, oh, don't be a pastor then, because you are never done. You're never done thinking or worrying about if you finish something. You have a freaking paper due every week with a sermon.
That's a good way to put it.
And like, anyway, it was just funny because I was thinking, when you were saying that, I was thinking every job you have, chaplain for the hospital or for the Air Force, pastor, student, parent, none of it, those are all very typically hard to like have boundaries for, you know, because they aren't like 8 to 5 or whatever. They can't be.
People
So
aren't.
I just want to affirm how hard it is to set boundaries for that kind of a job where everything's constantly changing and unknowns are always popping up.
Yeah.
How do you set boundaries for something like that? I don't know.
It's hard. And then as a 9, you want to please everybody, and you just can't, right? So that's why part of the training for chaplaincy is learning that, you know, you're imperfect and you're not going to make everybody happy. And the most you can do is acknowledge that and move into it, you know. But the alternative to all this would be going to work in some cubicle 9 to 5, which is what I did before I left that world to go into ministry. And that sucked the life out of me. So at least this work is incredibly life-giving, you know. So I'm grateful for it. All those listening in right now, I'm grateful for your texts and your calls at, you know, 10 p.m. or whatever. It's life-giving, even though it can be tiring.
Oh, I'm not. Please don't text me at 10 p.m.
I love you, but wait till 6 a.m.
Yeah, I happily accept text messages in the early morning, but unless it's an emergency.
All right, enough about me. Did I talk about the self-care piece enough? I get away. I go jogging. I work with my hands a lot. Aurelia, you put it really helpfully the other day when you said, Matt, you have a real physical energy about you, and I never thought about it that way. But I do physical things, you know, work on my camper, whatever, because the work I have to do is so intangible otherwise.
Yeah.
I feel like I am not a person who's good at compartmentalizing my life at all. I mean, even in those times in my life where I have worked, you know, an 8 to 5, that theoretically I could have left at home. I'm left at work and come home. I'm just not good at that. So I think I echo a lot of what you say, Matt. For me, I'm such an introvert. My biggest struggle every summer, this is a struggle, but so ever since COVID began, my biggest struggle is always to get enough introvert time, to get enough time alone. And so like when my kids were in school, that's not hard for me to do. I have, you know, 8 hours of the day where I can be alone if I want or need to, and as much as I need. So then now it's COVID time and there's people in this house all the time. They never go away. So that's a big struggle for me. And probably I would say my number one, top of the list. And the other is, another struggle for me is that since COVID began, this work is so heavily, it's just existing on social media, which means I have to be more tethered to social media. But then, you know, there's the like dopamine burst when you look at social media. So it's like you become an addict. And so getting myself to stop looking at the news, you know, at social media it just takes a lot. It takes a force of will. It's like, put it away. So that's a challenge for me.
Mm-hmm. What's the self-care piece for you and all that? Maybe I'm sorry if I missed it.
I didn't say it. Well, this self-care piece is daily meditation for me. I've said that so many times, but it just is. But I also have been doing more yoga lately. So that's a thing for me. What else? I don't know.
Mm.
Trying to set boundaries. Oh, I don't work on Saturdays. That's a self-care thing for me. Is I try not to do anything unless I just have to. I try not to do anything. I try to really Sabbath and unplug. Put the be sure I've got my sermon done by the end of the day on Friday, and because I won't.
Good. You're probably better at boundaries than I am.
I don't know.
Just imposing some structure on yourself.
I don't know.
Yes. That's true.
I think everything's really hard to determine. This is the other struggle, which I've talked to you guys about a bit. So as an Enneagram 4 who can really go into the space of the Enneagram 1, who is sort of perfectionistic and really wants to make the world a better place and really wants to do things right. It's very hard for me in this time to never know what the right decision is to make. So like with COVID, making decisions about, what risks are we going to take? What interactions are we going to have? And there not being any guidance to really follow except for my own intuition. I feel like I just never know the right choice to make. It's very stressful to me because I really like to make intentional choices. My whole life, I like to make intentional, well thought out, well-researched choices. And it's a shot in the dark. Every decision is a shot in the dark.
Yeah.
It's true. I've always said, like, Fran will take 6 months researching a cardigan. Like, she will take 6 months to decide on a pair of pants, like the perfect exact pair. And she's very thoughtful. So I can only imagine how these choices, because every day is different. Every day something changes. And so we can't really make decisions based in the future almost at all. It's really makes it hard.
And so the self-care and the inner work there is relinquishing control, relinquishing my ideas of what is success, letting go of that perfectionist instinct and that need for things to be perfect or right, which for me is often worse in anxiety. So feeling anxious and simultaneously feeling like things need to be right and perfect, those coincide for me. So the inner work is letting go of that.
Let it be.
Let it be. Yeah.
And in the present moment, accepting things as they are and forgiving them for how they are.
If you're watching, we want you to share what you're struggling with right now and how you're taking care of yourself. Just a check-in that I think we should do, every once in a while. So please share in the comments. Tammy said, for self-care, part of a common theme she's seeing is people crying so easily. Guilty. We have to stop fighting it. There's a concept of the anointing of tears, and I believe it allows us to grieve passionately expressed. I know there's an overwhelming move for our nation and the church, which is a great comment because, like, I was late getting on this morning because I was having a cry fest, and Matt and Fran were texting like, "What's happening? We're on." And I had this moment where I was like, "Do I just say, okay, coming?" Like you usually, that's what your first instinct. And my second instinct was just tell them, like, I'm teary right now. I'm trying to get it together. And then I get on and I'm like, my first instinct is to just, wipe away my tears. We're not supposed to cry in front of people. But I just thought, like, there's nothing wrong with having some tears. Like, we don't even have to talk about, I don't even need to talk about it. I just need space to, like, get them out so we can move on. So anyway, I just thought that was so funny. That's what Tammy said.
How we started today was like, which is not unusual for us.
No.
One of us is.
It's still slightly awkward though, because whatever messaging we've been sent our whole lives tells us there's something wrong with being so vulnerable.
Which we reject.
Right.
We reject that messaging and we embrace the messaging of authenticity and vulnerability and all the emotions. Okay and good, and they're messengers to us.
Right.
Yeah.
My mentor Sharon says, all emotions are messengers and all messengers are angels.
Ooh, who said that?
One of my friends, Sharon.
I love that.
I love that. Okay.
Brandt, can I read Brandy's?
You're convicting me right now.
Messengers and all messengers are angels.
Okay.
Brandy wrote, I'm struggling with not having a straight line to follow right now. From COVID to racism issues, I want someone to tell me the right way, yeah, and be able to I got lost.
Do it with
an endpoint. That's not possible right now and likely never. Yes, exactly. It feels a lot like the children of Israel wandering through the wilderness for 40 years and like just having to trust, right? We're going the right way. We're where we need to be. Maybe that's not an apples to apples comparison, but I can relate to the wilderness feeling.
Yeah. And Fran put that exact thought of Brandy's into Enneagram terms, going to 1. I think it's especially hard right now, for 1s especially, but it's always that way. I think it's always the practice to try and like let go of some of that, relinquish some of that control, like Fran said, and we're just getting like a crash course in it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Tiffany said, for me, my physical health is on back burner. I'm pouring so much energy into my emotional and spiritual health, which is vital, but I find myself neglecting physical, working out less, eating more comfort food, gaining weight, combo of COVID circumstances and grief. And yeah, I mean, we're not here to be like professional counselors, but I would say like, let it be. Like, let's just let it be our mantra. You in time, you will, I don't know that not working out and eating comfort food is neglecting your physical health all the time. I don't think that's true. I think that sometimes that's what your body needs. And I wish, Tiffany, that you weren't in a place of just needing to survive right now, but that's where you are. You're just needing to survive. And, you'll get to a place where you have the energy I know you love to work out. I know you love to be healthy, but your body doesn't have that energy right now. So you got to give it what it needs. And maybe it needs some more comfort food.
I agree about that. And I think it's so there's a way in which I believe that when we comfort the body, that penetrates into the soul some. So, and it's part of our embodiment of us being here. We're incarnate, we're human beings. These bodies are made of, first of all, empty space and energy and elements. And they're made of all this stuff. And we can reach our souls by caring for our bodies, which I think is really important. And I think that what caring means often means a nap and a plate of mac and cheese and some TV. Sometimes that's what it takes to care for the body.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's all good.
Yeah. Yep. Let's see. Oh, Tracy's finding solidarity with Brandy. Tori said, struggling with the way to help my children thrive and endure conflicting answers and opinions on what to do and how to best care for them and where to let them be. We faced heavy and hard lately. Don't really have time to have self-care. Introvert on full overwhelm here. Yeah.
Introvert on full overwhelm.
Yeah.
It comes in waves, doesn't it? Do you guys notice that it comes in waves?
Mm-hmm.
So like one day it feels so heavy and just hard to bear, and then the next I can stand a little straighter. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's funny because I made a note. I didn't really share my struggle or self-care yet, but like huh?
We want you to.
Oh, well, I was just gonna say I literally made a note of my main struggle lately, and I wrote waves of overwhelm in which I cannot accept that this is reality. And obviously, when I say that out loud, I'm talking about the virus and the whole quarantine and the whole state of the world. I just, for the last week or two, just waves of overwhelm where I'm like, I can't believe this. I can't believe this. I just almost like panic and denial all wrapped into one with some sadness sprinkled around in there. And that is obviously grief, right? So yeah, I think I'm just grieving loss of normal, life stressors that are magnified, navigating relationships for me as an extrovert. I'm like breaking my own heart every day when I have to navigate decisions based on relationships, based on social distancing. Like it just makes me so sad. And then watching others suffer in my life who are, because I'm lucky, I guess you would say. I'm one of the lucky ones. I'm not super affected by, I'm not affected financially. I've got still some family support. I work from home already. Like just there are a lot of things that life has gone easier on me through this. And still I have so much grief and struggle. And then I watch others suffering directly affected, losing their jobs, losing their income, or they already had really, really big mental health stressors and struggles. And it's so much worse now. And it just fills me with grief. So looping back to Tori, like, I grieve for you, Tori, because what do I tell you? To make time when you can't, when you have your kids every hour of the day, and who knows if you're going to get an evening to yourself, maybe for an hour, but then you're exhausted. Like, I grieve for you, and that's all I can really do is hold space and ask how we can support you, because what you're going through is so hard, and I affirm that, and I grieve that.
I think my mind and heart are still kind of with Brandy and wondering, and what you said as well, Fran, with what's the best way to navigate through all this. I have a strong one wing as well. And I guess I'm still on that metaphor of wandering through the wilderness and thinking about how they had community through that. That was one way they endured and survived 40 years of that. They maintained their daily and weekly rituals, even though they're wandering through a wilderness. And they daily had to just kind of step by step follow that pillar of fire, smoke that led them day by day, which it totally feels like we've reverted to a day-to-day society now. Like every day's a new day. Forget any kind of long-term planning. Forget planning a week out. We're literally day to day, So maybe that's my encouragement to try to bring some more positivity to all this is community, living day to day with one another, wandering through the wilderness, but having community.
Yeah, well, and it's always been a wise word to live in the present moment. That's a spiritual practice, really. Mindfulness, Buddhism, like a core practice is living in the present moment. Well, now we're all traditions. Yeah, we're
across wisdom traditions.
Yes. I think I find a lot of meaning in the Buddhist way of communicating that, but I see now that we all have no choice. We have no choice now but to live in the present moment. And I'm looking at David's comment, working 35 hours a week at Starbucks, closing, just wanting to sleep anytime that's possible. There's a lot going on, and it's really, really exhausting, and we're being forced to really just live day by day. And the other thing we're being forced to do is be creative. And we talk about that a lot in a church way, like, okay, we got to be creative to figure out how to do church, but we also have to be really creative with how we do self-care, because it is so hard to come by right now. It's hard to find the time. It's hard to do it in ways we might normally do it. And so we're having to like think creatively, like about that too. And yeah. What is that noise? Do you hear that? It sounds like y'all don't hear it?
I hear it, but it's not at my house.
What noise is it?
I don't know. It stopped. I occasionally write articles for Progressing the Spirit, and I just submitted one this week. And the title of it is Even in 2020, Gratitude is My Religion. And for me, that's such the present moment being a core tenet across wisdom traditions. Christ articulated it as consider the lilies, how they grow, they neither toil nor spin. That kind of metaphor, which is a live in the present moment metaphor and let go of everything that you can't control. And for me, gratitude is so much of that the way into the now, the way into paying attention to the present, paying attention to the moment, is exercising that gratitude muscle. So anyway, that's what the article's about. But I also think that it's a way of holy resistance in this time. I think it's a tool that we really desperately need to cling to right now. I think it's holy resistance.
Yeah. So we see a lot of outrage and moral outrage, and rightly so. But for me, I have to pair that with something else, like gratitude and centering stuff. I can't just live on one end of that spectrum. I want to integrate all of it without leaving any of it out.
Yes, it's a good word. Probably a good word to end on. I mean, gratitude it's a hard word to hear when you're in a place of suffering. And I can remember like about 6 years ago having a pretty big revelation around gratitude when I was in a place of kind of suffering. And it really, I think if we can hear that word, it'll go with us throughout our life. And so Fran, you bringing that up and reminding us of that, I feel like is a good place to end, just to say, okay, this is hard. We absolutely have to live in the present moment to survive. And we absolutely have to practice gratitude to survive these times. So maybe that's the word to end on today, is how can we practice gratitude today in the present moment? We don't have to think past tomorrow. We don't have to make a 5-point plan for our lives. Like, let's just figure out what we're grateful for today and try to lean into that, even as we face the hard stuff, and name the realities and make room for the tears.
Yeah. And I think it's the holding intention, but to me, gratitude practice is not some like namby-pamby, happy, happy, joy. Let's fake it. We're not talking about faking it. We're talking about actually looking at life as it is and finding the divine particles inside of it.
All right. Well, we've been on here for 40 minutes. So
40 minutes? Wow.
I guess we'll see you guys Sunday.
Extra heaven points for sticking it out for 40 minutes.
Yeah. We'll love you guys, and we're sending our blessings. Thank you for being so vulnerable. We'll look through the comments and address anything we may have missed. All right. Bye. Bye.